and a great help to the group and the Justice for Linda Lewis campaign. We have the legend, who is the one and only Guy Taylor.
Hey!
Well, how do I follow that? Right. Listen, this is getting easier for me, right? I've been doing this for many years, and it's getting easier. And seeing you guys here now, it's amazing, because the reason it's getting easier is because more and more people are waking up, and I don't have to start this by saying, guess what? You know, do you know what common law is? We all know why we're here, don't we? Yeah. We all know why we're here. Yeah. So hopefully I can give you a little bit more insight to what's going on, and we'll go through what's going on. But you know, applaud yourselves, because I mean the fact that I'm down here in Port Talbot with you guys here, awesome. You know, 3 years ago, everyone had me with a tinfoil hat on. You know what I mean? And everyone's waking up, and you know it's awesome that you guys are here. So applaud yourselves, please.
Hey!
Obviously, what's been going on over the years is that a lot of us we're taught we stood on the shoulders of giants, right? And we were taught about common law, and common law is completely different to statute law. And so we understood that these guys are doing something wrong, and it's morally wrong if people are evicting you, or never mind constitutionally wrong. But we had no redress because they kept coming up with statute law, and we didn't know what was going on. Now, we've started investigating their paperwork, because ultimately they're coming at us. So we know it's morally wrong, we know it's constitutionally wrong, but okay, well, let's examine your paperwork then. Let's make sure it's correct to the prescribed form, because the whole thing about statute law, it has to be to a prescribed form, and that's where they come unstuck, because they're lazy, they don't do their jobs, they don't cross the T's, they don't dot the I's. So we've got them, we've got them nailed on that, yeah? Now we've had this thing going on, I mean, we've picked specifically on, has this got feedback? Or, okay, we picked specifically on evictions, because it's terrorism. Let's get it absolutely right. They might moan about, say some soldier gets killed in the street today by some terrorist, right? Well, what about the people getting kicked out of their homes with their kids and all that? Surely, yeah? On fraudulent documentation, that's terrorism. Let's get it absolutely right. What is terrorism? So that's why a few weeks ago, myself and Mark Salon and Miss Reaver and that rang MI5, and put it to them, and said, I don't know who's seen or hasn't seen that, MI5 aren't interested in terrorism. They're the paedophile protection squad, as far as I can see. But they advised us to go to the police, so all of us got in a minibus, and of course we weren't the local golf club, we were from all over Britain, and we went down to the local police station, which I'm sure Mark Salon will release a film of, because we filmed and recorded everything, because we were transparent, didn't we? We ain't got anything to hide. And we all went down to the police station, so when the minibus pulled up, I went to the counter, and of course a big crowd of people came in with me, and I said, we've been sent down here by MI5. Which we had. So they all start running around like headless chickens, and we got two really good coppers, took us into a room. One was a detective constable, one was a PC, and we said, look, we've got fraudulent documents, we've got this, we've got that, and they were really good, and they didn't know they'd been recorded and filmed, and we went through it with them for 5 hours, but we went through it knowing that ultimately someone farther up the food chain, some chief inspector with a shiny baton, and a little cap, is some mason or whatever, is going to pull the plug on it. But we went through the process, and that's the point, going through the process, going through the protocol. Yeah, going through the protocols, that's the point, yeah? So, what's been happening in the last few months, which has changed things dramatically, is the response. And we've got Francis here from Response down here, and AD and that from the Midlands set up the response, and of course guys like Francis have done it down here, and it's awesome, because it means that we're able to get a group of people to stop an eviction anywhere in the UK, really. I mean, in some areas we're light, yeah? In some areas we're heavy, but we're able to do that. And the thing is, with the boots on the ground, it's a common law action. So the fact that they're not physically able to enforce their statutory mechanism, they have to go away. And when they go away, what they do is they have to do a risk assessment. Because when they came there, they were there expecting to take possession of a property, which 100 people end up turning up. They can't do it. So they have to go and take a risk assessment. So great, we stop it on that day, but ultimately, 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, they can come back and crash their way through. Still with fraudulent paperwork. But that's the whole idea of what we're doing. We're stopping it physically, and then we're examining their paperwork and scrutinising their paperwork to make sure it's to the prescribed form. Because abuse of the statutory process is a common law offence. So that's really the key of all this. And it took me years to get my head around that simple statement, right, which I come out with. But it really is a powerful tool, because they're enforcing games rules and a mechanism upon us. So all the T's must be crossed, the I's must be dotted. That's why they're paid hundreds of pounds an hour, solicitors, to cross the T's and dot the I's. And of course, when you'll always find abuse of process, right? And because they went to university and they thought to themselves, well, I've done my bit. I'll put me law books up on the shelf. Don't need to bother them anymore. Got a rubber stamping clown called a judge in a court. He's going to rubber stamp away all day, and job's done. And this is what's going on. And the deeper you go down the rabbit hole, the worse and worse it gets. I mean, I'll just say this as an offshoot. I heard the other day of someone who went to Burger King up in Manchester, and they got stitched up with a couple of bags of chips. So what they did, rather than go back to Burger King, they checked out the VAT receipt number and found out that they weren't Burger King at all. They were some offshore company operating from the Virgin Islands. So I mean, where does this all go? You know, I mean, it's beyond. So anyway, right. So what, you know, Linda is the puppet master, so I'm just here, you know, with the strings attached. What I want to tell you about is basically, I've said about response, I've said about CPS, they're the clown prosecution service, or the corporation protection service. Because what actually happens, I take out private criminal prosecutions against these people. Yeah, there. Is that better? Can you all hear that? You just want little things filming, right? So I take private criminal prosecutions out against these characters. Because ultimately, if they're coming around to you, like bailiffs or whatever, they have to have a statutory instrument. And it has to be to the prescribed form. And if it isn't, then obviously everything they do is unlawful. Because they're actors, and they're acting in their acting capacity. And if you're acting in your acting capacity, you have to operate inside the boundaries afforded you by the legislation attached to that role. So, in simple terms, it just means you can't step outside the box. If you do, they can never legislate for someone to break the law. And they can never indemnify someone, insure someone to break the law. So if they operate inside the boundaries afforded them by the legislation, fine, but most of them don't. And it's very, very easy to pull them apart. Because what's happened over a long period of time is there's developed a culture. And like I said, where the solicitors have been to university and they don't need to put their books down, you know, they know what goes on in there and all that ain't the way it is. Standard procedure. When you hear standard procedure, you know you've got them. Because standard procedure, it ain't prescribed form. And I use a simple analogy. If a couple of us went to work in a factory with all you guys in there, and the boss told me and Linda to do a job a certain way, and we started doing a job a certain way, and then after a bit of time you lot all come over and goes, what are you two doing? You're going to get us in a lot of trouble. Don't do that, do this. We start doing it the way you say, what the shop floor say. And very soon we're training people to do the same thing. And that's the culture, and that's what's been going on. And it's easy to expose because luckily we've got redress to the culture at every stage under their own rules, under their own civil procedure rules if we're dealing inside the county courts, which I'll explain to you. Right. Yeah. Do I need it? I'm loud.
I don't think you do, okay, sorry.
I'm loud enough. So, right, so actors and acting, right, okay, so you've got actors and acting, this is what you've got in every case, right, okay, you've got a traffic warden wakes up in the morning, he ain't a traffic warden, he puts on his little uniform and he's a traffic warden. You're judged as anyone who's acting is an actor and acting in that capacity. So, but they've got to operate inside those boundaries afforded them by legislation. So a traffic warden couldn't walk out, bang on your door, write out a warrant and come and do a drug search on your house. Whoa, you're a traffic warden, mate, you can't do that. You'd be operating outside the boundaries afforded you by legislation attached to your acting role. So you've got to stay inside your box.
You need to make for the video.
Sorry, John, I was trying to get his... Just sort of hold it.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay, no, sorry about that. It's the boss, he's always... So they've got to operate inside their own games rules. Now that includes judges. Now, you know, judges don't wake up in the morning and they're a judge full on, you know. I mean, they could go down to the local pub and get drunk and decide that, you know, Man United are going to beat Barcelona 10-0, you know, and that's a judgment, you know. They could do, and they probably would do if they had the chance, but, you know, they can't because they're operating outside the boundaries afforded by legislation, and they haven't got the subject matter jurisdiction. Now, all these words I'm saying, they're not complicated words when you join them together and just go and find out. So, subject matter jurisdiction. Just find out what it is. It means that to have the jurisdiction to deal with that specific subject matter. And then when you understand...
Up, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, look, everything I'm saying ain't complicated. It isn't complicated. It's only that I've had too much time on my hands to learn this stuff. You know what I mean?
The whole thing for that whole getting for them, isn't it?
Every time, listen, and this is what exactly right, because what happens is this, and Mr. Ebert says, right, every time they come and they knock you back in court or whatever, you think, oh, God. Well, to be honest, what the hell did you expect? Did you expect to get a gold medal, you know? Everyone's going for the Easter egg hunt, you know, expecting to say a specific word, or, oh, if you say that sentence, look, you're dealing with criminals. You're dealing with criminals and cowards, that's what they are. There's no in-betweens. The ones who look you in the eye are criminals, and the ones who look away are the cowards. No in-betweens. And don't expect to win inside that arena. You might get a stalemate, so you might get, oh, well, we'll reserve judgment for a couple of weeks while we go away and talk to some of our bigger mates. But you've got capos. In each town you've got a capo judge. And he'll be the one that holds things inside that area, right? I mean, I was the end of that when we had Vosper in the court, and I said I'd arrest him and he'd run out the court, yeah? I mean, but this is what they are. They're the area capos. Maybe some of the other judges don't agree with it, but they're too cowardly to do anything about it. That's the point, yeah? And we've got that in every part of this country. We've got that, yeah? I mean, Operation Tiberius, the Freemasons, all that. At the end of the day, we're just dealing with criminals. You know, we don't need to get involved. Psychopaths. Psychopaths is what we're dealing with. Yeah. And it's easily provable. And the reason I started off doing the common law trail, which is correct, but when you go into a magistrate's court spouting Halsbury's, or trying to discuss Hansards, it goes straight over their head, yeah, and they just rubber stamp away. So, as I described before, it's taking a backgammon board to a chess match. So when Mr. Ebert got me involved in the forensic examination of court documentation, then I could say, hang on, you're taking them apart in their own game. Because there are essential key ingredients to set off a claim against you. If you haven't broken the law, so you're not guilty of harm, injury, loss or fraud in your contract, then they take you to a civil court, yeah, for a civil action, right? Well, that's all fair and well, but to set that civil action in motion, every single civil action has to have key ingredients. And those key ingredients are this. You walk into the court and you get an application or a claim form, we'll get it offline. You fill that claim application form out. You have to support that with an affidavit or a statement of truth, and then you have to pay a fee, or get a fee remission if you're on the street. But that's what you have to do. So we advise everybody who's had a court case, doesn't matter however long ago it was, solicitors are obligated to keep files for 7 years in archives. So if you've had a problem, go and ask under CPR, and again, spouting their rules, it's just because they deal in a codified language, so we apply their codes to them. And you go down with one piece of paper and you say, I want access to my court files within 48 hours under CPR 542. The courts are obligated to give you access to your court file. They're if you're lucky. Well, okay, but that's the rule. But the point is, if people aren't abiding by their own rules, it's holding the mirror up to them. And people don't like what they see, yeah? If you're holding the mirror up to them and saying, well, excuse me, this is what you're supposed to be doing and you're not doing it, the game changes and people start waking up. Because anyone can go for anything and go and ask for their file. And when you go there, you discover something very, very interesting. Because what's been happening all over this country since the year of DOT, right, is this. When you go into a county or civil court, you walk through the doors, it might be the place where the Crown Court is, or whatever. As you walk in, you think you're entering a public arena. But it's almost like there's a couple of guys going, hey, you're up here today. And they call you to a little room. And when you go in that room, they start horse trading with you. The judge isn't on his oath. It's all dealt with in a private capacity. And you leave there with some bit of paper. Oh, God. And you walk out the door thinking that, I don't know why the judge didn't understand me or whatever. Right? The reality is they've been operating in a private capacity. There's nothing public about it. And part of my work is to expose that. And that's what we've done recently with the thing with me with Bodden Manor, because the judge won't give me the files in Hereford County Court. In fact, they won't even allow you in there anymore unless you've got an appointment. And I went there with a chap who came over from France to examine his file. And this is how big it's getting. It's all over, right? And they said, oh, you're an hour late. He said, I've come from France. He said, you know, it's been an hour late. He said, I've arranged an appointment here. I demand to see my file. And he said, well, we'll show it you, but not Mr. Taylor. He said, what do you mean? He said, he's a party to the proceedings. No, he isn't. He is. He said, he's my advisor. So, and judge, I said, no, judge, there's a CPR. You know, you don't know your own rules and regulations, do you? No, you're not legally trained. No, we'll just do what the rule says. Anyway, we ultimately got to examine his file, and he'd lost £200,000 in this matter. It was with rank Xerox with a company. And when we got the file, awesome. I told him what was going to happen. He didn't believe. He was an ex-RAF aircraft engineer, and he fought for his country over in Belfast and over in Fulton, you know. And I mean, he started to come to some conclusions, but didn't realise just how bad it was. And when we went back after half an hour and they gave us the file, the lady behind the desk, bless her, she said, "Oh, I put a seal on that one because it didn't have one on the machine." And he said, "You what?" You know, he's really angry. He said, "How dare you? You've been tampering with court good." He said, "Well, you go and get me one as it comes off the machine." So we kept that one, because I knew in my mind, well, we better keep that one for some reason. And she went and got one, and of course the other one didn't have nothing on. Well, of course, I don't know if you know now, but in the county courts, they actually just says the county court now, no matter where you are. Before it'd say Hereford County Court, Worcester County Court. Well, of course, this one just said the county court. Well, of course, that stamp wasn't even manufactured until this year. And of course, his case was in 2012. So we've got two court orders, one with nothing on. They're not even sealed anyway, they're only stamps. But one with nothing on, and one with this year's stamp on. So they're both, you know, which one do you want? They're both fraudulent. You know, absolutely, you know. But this is where we're going. You know, and unfortunately, the court staff, because they're not legally trained, you know, don't know. And you know, unless they want to get barristers at the counters, they're in serious trouble, you know, at the moment. Right? So, we'll move on. Again, I don't do any script. Yeah, no problem.
Can you clarify CPR 542?
542.
542
Yes.
is a rule that the courts have to provide the records within 48 hours.
This is a request, and I can give this to everybody to do if they want to check a court case out, yeah? It's only one piece of paper. I always say, and I repeat myself a lot, it's so everyone remembers, right? Because I spend hundreds of hours thinking about this shit, so that other people don't have to, right? It's not because they can't work it out, it's because, you know, I've got nothing better to do, perhaps. You know, much to Linda isn't happy about it, but... Right. But yeah, okay, but this is the score, right? So what we put on here, and this is what we put on this, right? Request and notice, right? And I can give everyone a copy and do your own details. Please provide a copy, print out, of all records from the computer database for case number. Now, that fools some of them, and they give you what is called the case man file, which is the case management, which says every in and out of that particular case. Database comes straight, and if you get that, well, you've got a jackpot. Right? We've had 2 or 3 people got. Paul Campbell up in Durham got it. because then you get a huge printout. It comes out like a, a bank statement, and you can specify what you want off that bank statement. You know, so it's awesome to get that.
You need to